Lagos, the commercial hub of Nigeria and one of Africa's largest economy, remains so attractive to many. Little wonder, the surging population and the ever-increasing need of structures for habitation, relaxation, and commercial purposes. As the state supports its citizenry to own or build structures for diverse legitimate purposes, also it has in place an agency under the Ministry of Planning and Urban Development that ensure that building constructions are executed in accordance with the necessary government approvals so as to forestall defects, collapse, and other preventable hazards. This agency is referred to as Lagos State Building Control Agency, LASBCA. What are the roles of LASBCA and its relationship with other agencies?
The Building Control Agency is entirely in charge of construction works once any developer commences foundation up until completion.
The responsibility of LASBCA, amongst others, is to speak to the good health of a building.
According to our process flow, that's workflow, it is expected and mandatory that after you have gotten your planning permits for your proposal, that you have to proceed to Lagos State Building Control Agency.
Lagos as an enterprise city envisions Lagos as a city that builds the critical infrastructure as in that citizens as in required today and in the future. And one of the initiatives as in that it's aimed at driving this vision is the implementation of the state's operative fiscal development plans. And this is being implemented in collaboration with the Lagos State Building Control Agency.
Safety Commission has, over the last couple of years, worked very well with LASBCA. I'll just highlight some of the areas where we've worked with LASBCA. One is the identification of distressed buildings in the state. This is a core mandate as our teams go out regularly. It's to identify possible buildings that might be distressed, and we escalate this to LASBCA.
Lagos State Building Control Agency, one of its mandates is the identification of illegal, non-conforming and distressed structures.
If you want to key into the Lagos State government's team agenda, of course, it has to do with making Lagos State the 21st century economy. That is the item where Lagos Building, not even Lagos Building, the ministry itself, key in. Thereafter, then you now pick the function of Lagos State Building Control Authority, as in making Lagos State sustainable environment for every one of us.
As ignorance may not be a tenable excuse, however, many are naive on what constitutes a distressed structure and building collapse.
For distressed structures, we identify them under post-construction audit. When we go out on inspection, we identify a structure that is distressed with some visual signs, such as spalling of concrete, exposed reinforcements, dampness on the wall, settlement, either partial or full settlement.
What has soil type, soil texture, topography, and reliefs got to do with this?
Old tradition is that you just call the bricklayer, they dig the ground for you and started building. But with this present situation, it's not supposed to be like that, because you have to look at the soil formation of where you are building.
For monitoring, inspection, and enforcement, LASBCA will require a legion of workforce. How equipped is the agency for this task?
The mandate of the agency is such that requires quite a number of staff in order for us to be able to comb the nooks and crannies of the state.
For our monitoring activities, we've tried to expand our district offices. I think we have about 57 of such district offices now for us to be able to get to all those corners and other areas outside the Lagos metropolis. And apart from that, Mr. Governor just gave the Ministry of Fiscal Planning and Urban Development the dispensation to employ, I think, 20 architects who are undergoing training with the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure now. And when they are finished there, they will be posted back to LASBCA.
What is expected of our building inspection officers? Let's hear from Olumide Omishore.
As a building inspector, it's expected that every building that I'm going to inspect, first of all, obtains building planning approval. It's submitted for authorization, then stages are expected to commence on each of all those projects. The moment stages have started, it's also expected that from time to time the owner-developer writes the agency notifying them of what they intend to do, what they want to build, and also we expect that they have professionals, registered professionals from architects to engineers to builders, as part of the team that's going to be doing the project with them on site.
In the course of monitoring and enforcement, the selling up of structures have not been restricted to residential buildings. Some filling stations are also affected.
So as a follow-up, apart from the residential buildings or the commercial building, residential and commercial building that Lagos State Building Control actually monitor the construction, we have the issue of irrational and illegal construction of petroleum stations around the state. Go around, you see the way people are constructing their building, what they call a petrol station. A whole lot of them are not in compliance with the control agency, that is LASBCA. So LASBCA has been moving it to make sure that they caution and make sure they correct all these lapses.
Don't even talk about petrol station, talk about even structures, residential. Some people will get an approval for ground and first. The next thing you see reinforcement going to the second floor.
Let's hit the streets for the opinions of some members of the public.
Can you tell us what you know about illegal buildings in Lagos State?
I said illegal buildings, to my understanding, are buildings, that are, being executed without seeking or obtaining the government approved permission.
Now, talking about we, the public, the Lagosians, a lot of people are too careless. We have this penchant of saying it cannot happen. And if it happens somewhere, where they were not good enough, if it was Baba Marufu that did it, it wouldn't have been like that. No. For everything in building, there is a process. And once you try to circumvent that process, danger is lying ahead.
Kọ́tọ̀ ṣẹlẹ̀ ní tí building máa fi ń collapse lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ pé number one, ìyẹ̀gbẹ́kẹ̀lé foundation wọn kò dáa because wọ́n ń kọjú láti make owó láti tètè raise building yẹn kó lè tètè ṣe pápápá kó lè tètè máa gbowó wọn kì í gbé fún proper agents àti proper àwọn agency àwọn èèyàn tó yẹ pé wọ́n mọ̀ pẹ̀ tó máa fi ṣètò tó dáa.
Therefore, what should be the build-up to obtaining the certificate of completion and fitness for habitation?
If you want to get certificate of fitness, from the beginning, these are the procedure. Normally, when you apply for planning permit, the Lagos State Planning Permit Authority gives you an approval. You write to building control, and at the same time, the planning permit send a copy of your approval to building control agency. It owns on the developer or the owner that wants to write to Lagos State Building Control that they want to commence construction. While writing to Lagos State Building Control that you want to start construction, the Lagos State government, the building control will give you a letter of authorization. This letter of authorization allows you to move to site, and that shows that Lagos State Building Control knows about the construction, and the monitoring officer come to the site on daily basis, stage basis. That is, if you are doing the foundation, they come and look at what the foundation you are doing to be sure that the necessary things that need to be put in place during the construction process of your foundation are being put in place.
What is the advice for the members of the building community in Lagos State?
Tó bá lè bá fẹ́ kọ́lé lọ gbàwé town planning. Town planning wà ní gbogbo every local government everywhere. No matter ibi tẹ́ ń gbé, town planning wà ńbẹ̀.
My advice is that I employ the people building, both developer, owner, friends of the owner, friends of the developer that are building, to go through the right channel, seek for the planning permit, write building control department that you want to commence. Be a friend to building control officer. Let them come to your site. They are there to make your wrong right?
My advice to the building public is to always build right. So when you build right, the tendency for you to compromise the system will be minimal, will not even be necessary. And I want to tell our people that when you make attempt to compromise our officers, you spend more, and it costs you more.
For interaction and inquiries, see details displayed on your screen. Build right, build well for a greater Lagos.